Tick tock, tick tock. Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the Bourbon Hour, our Wednesday night live photography group chat here on YouTube Live. We're going to go ahead and get the thing started. This happens every Wednesday night at 9 p.m. That is Central Time here in the United States. So make sure and check your time zone if you're wanting to follow along. You can also get notified when we're going to go live or announce future episodes if you go ahead and check my YouTube channel. That's youtube.com/JoshMillsPhoto. And go ahead and hit that subscribe and notification bell, and you'll get notified anytime there's an upcoming live episode coming. All right, guys? So that being said, I'm going to go ahead and unmute everybody that's already joined here and switch over to a different screen real quick. All right. So how's everybody doing this evening?
Awesome.
Awesome is good. All right. I'm going to go ahead and get that screen share going so everybody can see my desktop here. And I guess I should go ahead and share my camera now too, huh? Yep. There we go. All right. So I've got Melissa. I can never say your last name. Say your last name, Melissa.
Maldonado.
Maldonado up in New Jersey. I've got John Darko Chapman of Art Theory, also up in the Northeast. He's based in Philly. He's a cinematographer and photographer, does some crazy composite work. Check him out. John, you want to give a shout out to your social media and stuff so people can check out your work?
What's up? You can check me out on social media, John Darko Chapman. It's pretty much the same for everything. And website's John Darko Cinema -photography. So most definitely pick up.
Cool. I'm trying to get my, there we go. There we go. Now y'all can see me. Haha. And we also have John Harville on already, who is sitting out in Southern California. John Harville Photography. Say hi, John.
Hello.
Hello. By the way, Melissa and John, y'all can shout out your social media too, your Instagram or whatever you want people to check you out on.
I'm beauty_nightmare on Instagram, and then that photography chick on Facebook.
That photography chick on Facebook. There you
Yeah,
go. What about you, John?
John Darko Chapman.
No, I got you. I'm talking about the other, Harville.
Oh, mine is John.Harvell on IG.
Okay. You're really talkative tonight, John.
Yeah, I'm just sitting in front of the computer.
All right, well, cool. I also see that I've got Elise Lebowitz of Three Chicks That Click. She's joined on. I think she's just sitting there muted, though. Looks like she's just dialed in. Hey, Elise, can you hear me? Maybe not.
Can you hear me?
I hear you now. Hey there. How are you?
I have to be I'm fine, thanks. How are you? I have to be a little quiet, though. Everybody else is going to sleep.
Oh, so crank up the volume and I'll start yelling.
There you go. Hi, everyone.
Well, welcome. I think this is the first time you've actually talked and interacted on one of these. I've seen you lurk in the shadows a few times, I believe, but
yeah, I'm usually not trying to figure everything out is too hard.
Gotcha. Yep. And looks like Jim Carnes just joined on, so when he hears this, he can say what's up. There he is. What's up, Jim? How are you?
Not too much.
Yeah.
How y'all doing? Hey.
So tonight we have a couple of oldies and we got a newbie. We got John Darko Chapman on here. So you're probably familiar with his work over there.
His name a couple different places.
Yeah, a little bit here and there.
A little here, a little there.
Yeah, actually,
how you doing?
What's up?
He posted some really cool shots in the group recently. We're gonna cover those tonight. So, yep. Cool. All right, so I'm tired of introducing people. So, what's new with everybody? Anything new and crazy anybody wants to bring up first?
Uh,
I'm
Oh,
crazy.
that sounds exciting.
I'm having my first gallery at Champs
Awesome.
Nice
Nice.
in
Very
February.
good.
congrats.
stuff.
Thank
I
you.
still have not done a gallery. I got
Man, you're behind. Get to it.
no.
I haven't done one myself either.
Yeah, I mean it's nothing fancy. I'm gonna be selling prints and just displaying stuff.
Nice. No, that's good. That's good.
It's always good to see like live, like people in person.
Yeah, and I'm gonna be doing like mini headshots too for like $5.
$5 mini
Oh,
headshots.
that's cool.
What?
What's a mini headshot?
Yeah.
Little head.
Do you get like just the eye?
No, like the pentax, like the
Oh, okay. Those are fun.
yeah.
Oh, cool. All right, that makes a little bit more sense. I was thinking mini headshots. All right, so you're gonna set up like your whole setup and take pictures and edit them and everything right there on the spot. I'd be
Yeah.
charging more than $5.
No, I'm doing instax, like
Yeah, I got you.
like,
I got
Just-
you now.
I'm not editing anything. I just take a picture and shake it and hand it to them.
I assumed, and you know what assuming does, So I made an ass
No
out of
edit.
myself.
Yeah, I've seen people try and do that, like full edits and all. Josh, remember that time we did Dawn's fashion show thing, and that dude was doing that? Remember
Oh
that?
my God. Yeah.
And he was trying to make it like it was an event. He was like, all right, we'll put this on here, do this thing here, and bam, look at that, got you. That's a picture. It was
Yep.
horrible.
I will tell you what though, I've gotten quite good with the instant on demand stuff, tethering and using Capture One. Because when you're tethering into Capture One, especially if your setup's not changing, your light's not changing or anything, basically you sit there and you do all of your base adjustments on the very first image that you take, and then it applies it to every single image that comes through after that. So like the commercial shoot I did up there a couple weeks ago, I ended up doing 327 different shirts, and I had to get 2 shots of each. One in front of a graffiti background, one in front of a plain white seamless backdrop. 2 different lighting setups. And I had it tethered, and I was just like boom, 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 boom. And the thing is that after I took the first shot for each one, I set the settings in Capture One. So then it automatically applied those settings to every single image from there forward. So when we finished the session and I had 718 pictures or whatever, I ended up calling about 100. All of the images had all of the base settings done, including in Capture One. They have some pretty nice like basic skin stuff where you go into the color correction tool and you can select the skin tone and do like some hue adjustment and saturation and lighting, which actually does a pretty decent job if you're not going for like a full-on like skin retouching, just making things nice and pretty, kind of like a Lightroom but better. And that gets applied automatically also. So I mean, you could in theory use that to do 30-second turnaround digital images. Bam, here you go, here you go, here you go. But
Yeah, I gotta seriously talk to you more about Capture One. I still have not dove into it.
Yeah, me too.
I started playing with it a lot. I have Capture One and all, but it's like I'll be like, fuck this learning curve.
yeah, there's a learning curve to it, but once you get past the learning curve, pretty much everybody I've talked to that has made it past the learning curve part of it, that they're like, oh no, I'm never going back to Lightroom, or I'm never going back to whatever. It's the ones that they won't get past the learning curve and they give up before that are like, no, Capture One, no. And the learning curve isn't bad. It's just learning where some of the different things are and what it has that Lightroom doesn't, and vice versa. So
Yeah, I just gotta dive into it more.
Yeah, I'm just too invested into Lightroom, and not even monetarily. I've built my system pretty robustly. It's a huge chunk, and we haven't had a breath of time to be able to even download Capture One to be able to take a look at it. I know what it can do. I appreciate what it's able to do. We don't even have time to even figure out how that will fit into our workflow.
right.
Eventually.
Well, I downloaded it today, so I'll have to try to learn it.
It's not difficult.
Tethering, at least for Sony to Lightroom, I haven't. That's still a pain in the ass for me, but we've definitely been able to figure out workarounds for that. So when we do horse shows, as an example, and I'm tethering through Sony Image Ready, I'm pumping that straight through the network so that Alyssa gets it on her end, however 100 feet away, instantly, so that she can actually run edits and start uploading galleries almost immediately.
Right, gotcha.
We've got it down so it works really well.
Yeah, it's one of those things that, honestly, it's a tool, and whatever tool allows you to accomplish your job efficiently, great. I'm not going to be like, oh, you shouldn't be using Lightroom, because honestly, Lightroom's great too. I made that jump over to Capture One, and after I got past the learning curve, I just like it better. And for what I do and how I do it, it works better for me.
Yeah, I was at Paris Fashion Week, and Getty had a team set up.
Yeah.
They were dumping right in the they literally were shooting, and like one of the shows we did, literally that shit started at 10 a.m. and not end. Like what happened was like one designer would show their whole collection, and then there'd be a break for like an hour, then another collection, break for an hour, another collection, so on and on. And so after every break, they would just literally had a kid run, dump, set, quick edit, dump, off you go to the next, and they were like literally spitting into the magazines like that fast.
Dude, I did all 300 and whatever outfits, 2 shots, 2 setups for each. So basically, technically 600 looks in 6.5 hours.
652.
And that's 600 good shots, because I actually had it tethered to my laptop, but then my laptop I had HDMI'd up to a big screen between the 2 sets. So every time I take a shot, it dump it into Capture One, and I just look up at the big screen. I could be like, okay, eyes are open, there's no wrinkles covering anything on the clothing, good. Next, step over to the next set, next shot, and it was just a production line. So I cycled through 600 plus outfits in 6.5 hours.
Funny, when I was managing that high volume studio, even these programs were way too slow. We would actually direct in AV cable to old school TVs that would have the that yellow, red, white.
Yeah.
We just pump that yellow cable straight into the camera, and it would be instant.
Yep. All right, we had a couple other people jump on here real quick. Let me go ahead and announce them. We got Stephen Bueller jumped on here from New Jersey, and I also saw Martin Poole, Speedlight Photo, down there in Australia. He just jumped on also. So what's up, guys? How are y'all this evening?
Hey.
Actually, good morning, Martin.
How are you?
I keep forgetting. It's morning. It's Thursday morning for you.
Correct.
So we got a good crowd going on here already. That's good. I like this. So
yeah, brilliant.
Yep. Elise, what time are you going to bed?
Well, as soon as
I do your image.
Well, kind of, I guess, but I'll wait. I mean, I just have to kind of. I do have a lot going on in the morning, so I have to get a bed.
It's all right. I'm making you priority number 1. So as soon as we go through a couple quick things, I will jump on your image for you. All right.
Thank you.
You're welcome. One thing I did see recently, actually today, was I saw they announced that they're stopping the photo tours at the Antelope Canyon there in Arizona, which I don't know if any of y'all saw that. Yep. I saw somebody post it, and then I saw it posted up on Petapixel. Basically, the Navajo Nation has decided that the photo tours have been a bad experience, and they're getting bad reviews, is what it says, or something like that. And that they're cutting out the photo. They're cutting out the photo tour, but this is going to make the experience better for everybody. I think that it's probably more of a profit thing, honestly, but I don't know. I figure that they'll get more people that are just wanting to come and walk through the canyon rather than photographers wanting to pay $200 to come in and shoot. So
You know what? That might be better. We'll see how that actually goes because a lot of places, especially environmentals,
mhm.
will pull back so that the area can regrow from essentially the latent foot traffic that's going through.
There's
Um,
well, that would be true in a lot of natural environments. There in the Antelope Canyon, though,
right.
there's no vegetation whatsoever. First off,
Well, I'm not
and
saying in a sense of growing back, but um, I don't know. It might be good to have a down season.
no, I agree with that, and I think that if they did a down season, that's when I would say, all right, this is the off season for tourists, but this is when we will provide private photo tours. And
And you know what? Depending on how high of profile that may still want to get their permit in there, that
right,
could still
and
probably happen.
see
If
the way
anything,
that it
I'd be interested to see in the next 1 to 3 years the resurgency when they open those gates.
Yeah. See the way it works currently is the photo tours that you pay a premium for and the regular walkthrough tours happen at the same time. And basically
Right.
the benefit you get of the photo tour is they'll take you to the couple of key like iconic locations within the canyon and then they'll like block off the regular tourist traffic for a couple minutes to allow you to get a couple shots and then they let the traffic right back through. So you're literally standing there with a shitload of people back around the corner waiting to walk through, being held off by one of the guides while you get a shot. Very rushed. Whatever. Something I've heard about before, and somebody actually brought it up is. All right, so the tours and even the photo tour is the lower Antelope Canyon up into the mid part. They don't go all the way into the upper Antelope Canyon. The upper Antelope Canyon is where it actually meets Lake whatever it is. What I've heard from some of the landscape photographers, like the serious landscape photographers, is go and rent a kayak on the lake and paddle in from the upper part of the canyon and then you have the entire upper part of the canyon to your disposal with no interruption whatsoever. And it's the same, look and everything. So,
So you got a plan when we making that trip?
how about it's Arizona, so any time of year. Actually, I would prefer like late winter, early spring, or late fall. Because I'm not all about 120-degree June.
No,
Yeah.
no. When the
Oh, come
temperature
on, that's the
dips
best time to
into
shoot.
Exactly. But yeah, I mean, that's the one big thing I saw pop up that I was like, oh, you know what? It's such an iconic shot, and everybody sees them and knows what the Antelope Canyon is. That was kind of a significant news thing that popped up on the feed today. So, yep. Elise, I'm gonna go ahead and hit your picture real quick. So Elise posted
Okay.
this image in the group today or sometime recently. And basically what she said is she did a color selection tool to select the background and then tweaked the color of the background just to try and make it more complementary. And I think you said you were trying to complement the jacket. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So this is the original. If I can get it to pop up. There we go. And you just shot this on just a white or neutral background?
It's just a gray pop-up, yeah.
Okay. And then this one, I mean, this one is subtle. I mean, I really barely, seeing it with this over to the side, I can see the difference where you've actually added that lavender into this.
Right?
Mm-hmm. The one thing that I would say, though, is instead of trying to match the jacket, I feel like that just kind of makes the overall image a little just flatter to me. I did comment and say I personally would have tried to do a complementary color, and I wouldn't do a complementary color to the jacket. I would actually try and do a complementary color to her skin tone. So I'm going to actually yank this picture down real quick. Because I promised you I would show you how to do this very quickly and get an exact complementary color. Oh, I already have it.
Okay, great. Thank you.
There we go. And yank this up in Photoshop. All right, so first thing, I know that you said that you used the color select. So we did color range under the select menu.
Right.
And basically just selected this, all through here. And actually, now that I've unselected it, basically on the color range, you want to do sampled colors, localized color cluster, so it's not jumping around selecting everything in the image. You make your initial selection. I usually run my fuzziness around 25 to 30% for this kind of task, and I'll run my range around 50%. After you make that initial selection, you go over and hit the plus dropper, and then literally just click and drag down through everything in that area, and it will select those color ranges. Right, and I mean, here's where you can go in and start clicking closer to the hair and get it all nice and pretty, but I'm not going to go through that. I'm going to keep it just kind of quick and dirty, so it's not a 30-minute tutorial here. So I selected with just the color range that background. So I'll go ahead and hit OK. It gives me my marching ants, so it shows my selection. And then I'll go down to a adjustment layer right down here. And usually what I'll do here for just changing that background color is I'll do a solid color layer and then switch the mode on the layer from, to overlay or soft light or hue or one of the others, whichever gives me the best response. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to give it a color. All right. Now, to get a complementary color of her skin tone, what I will actually use is I will go up to the window here in Photoshop and I'll go to extensions. And there is this extension called Adobe Color Themes. All right.
Oh, never knew that.
So you open Adobe Color Themes and it gives you this nice little swatch panel. All right.
Cool.
Now, what I want to do is to get a complementary color to her skin tone, I'm going to grab my eyedropper over here. I'm going to make sure that I've got my background layer selected, or whatever layer her skin is on. I want to make sure that my sample size is 5x5 or 11x11, basically instead of single point, because single point will sample whatever pixel you click on. And if it happens to be a weird colored pixel, it's going to throw things weird. If you do an average like a 5x5 or an 11, it'll take a square of pixels and it will average the colors together for that selection and give you the average color. Ooh. So I'm going to do 5x5. I've got my color, my eyedropper here, and then I'm just going to come over here and find, a good natural color of her skin. So I'm not going to sample in like the blush on her cheeks. I'm going to sample probably right up here in her forehead. All right. So what that's done is that has now set my foreground color as that average. Okay.
Right.
So right over here, you see my foreground color is now this nice beige color. I'm going to come over to my color themes, and you've got a couple of options here below. All right. And you see it says click to set the active color, set selected color from active color. And then these other two don't matter. So we're going to click to set the active color. What that does is that takes whatever your foreground color is. Oops, actually I misspoke. Let me reselect here. I'm going to click set selected color from active color. All right.
Okay.
What that does is that takes whatever color I have as my foreground color and it makes it my active color. All right. Then I'm going to go over here and you see this little color rule icon.
Yeah.
If I click on that and go to complementary, it then gives me the complementary colors. All right. So then I can go, all right, well, I like that green. So I make that my active color. And then I'll go over and this one where it says click to set active color, I click on that. And if you look over here, you now see that my foreground color is that nice green color. All right.
Okay.
Then all I have to do is go over here and click on my color adjustment layer, my color fill layer. And whenever the color picker window comes up, I just go over and click on that foreground color, and it will change it to that color for me. All right?
Okay.
And then the only thing I have to do after that is decide what kind of layer I want. So if let's say overlay, because it adds a little bit more color into it. So now you can see when I toggle that on and off, I have just this nice subtle tealish green color, which is complementary to her skin. Right? So you see
Very
the difference
interesting.
when I toggle that on and off. It also it also separates her shirt from the background. If you made that shirt more of a lavender, or made the background more of a lavender, it would actually make her shirt kind of blend in. So this actually makes her stand out even more off of the background. So you've got a complementary color to this. Now here's another thing, and I have a very good feeling about this. I'm betting that that purple is a complementary color to her skin tone also in a triad, because her skin looks really good in that color. And that goes into the whole color theory too. So what you can actually do is back over here under the color rule, if you go to triad, and actually let me select that. So this is my skin tone, and I go to triad. Oh, look there.
Right.
So the triad, if you look, has that purple as a complementary to her skin tone. And then it has a darker brown and almost a mint green. So I'm going to select that mint green now and make that my active color. And then I'm going to go over here and change my solid color from this teal to that mint. All right?
Okay.
So now I've got a triad of colors. I've got her skin tone. I've got that purple, which is a complementary. And the background, I have that mint, which is a complementary. So they're now all three complementary of each other. Do you see that?
Ooh. Yeah,
and
very cool.
So now if I toggle that on and off, you can see the difference. And if you think that you need some more color in that, you just open up that color picker. And then right here where it says S, that's actually the saturation. If you just crank that up, you'll start adding more saturation into that color in the background. If it's too much, you just crank it down.
Okay.
Cool.
Very interesting. Thank you. That's fascinating.
And that is
that
is Adobe telling you exact complementary colors of whatever you sample.
That is fascinating. Now, let's just assume she doesn't like the green for whatever reason.
Then I would probably go back and switch back over to the... I highly doubt she will, but I would probably just go to the complementary and do like that teal color.
Well, she loves bold colors because she's a home stager, so she likes color. So we started with gray because I figured that's a nice neutral thing to start with.
Right.
But this is very cool. I had no idea that was there, so thank you so much.
Not a problem. There we go. I like this where I'm not so much worried about the triad, because the triad isn't a direct complementary. It's kind of what three work together best. I like just this straight complementary, because you see that this gives you even better separation with the color, with the jacket, but it's a direct complementary to her skin tone.
And very subtle, yeah.
Yep. So.
Ooh, well, thank you so much. I appreciate it. That was great.
You are welcome. Not a problem at all.
You're brilliant.
I'm not brilliant. I just play like I am.
That's okay.
I'm really good at faking it.
He's good, but he's not that good.
There you go. Exactly.
That's
Thank
okay.
you, Martin. Thank you. Chop me down a couple. Bring me down a couple pegs. And I see John Darko Chapman giggling over there, because I know that he's really big on color theory, especially since he's really big on composites and making images that look like they're meant to be together. So, you got anything you want to add in on this, John, before I close it?
I mean, there's a lot of ways to skin a cat with doing that. There's definitely one way, a good way. But Adobe Color Theme especially, I've been playing around with it a lot more with creating LUTs, especially for in Lightroom dumping into profiles. So I learned a new way to create 3D cube LUTs to create as profiles in Lightroom, which is crazy helpful because because usually, Lightroom and anything that you're making off any kind of LUT or preset is a preset, which means that when you click on the preset, it moves around, changes everything, yada, yada, and then you got to work from there. Where putting it more in a profile format, you can, move sliders, create whatever you want to create and how the look is with the picture, and then dump the profile in, and the profile doesn't affect anything in the preset. And then you can keep going from there. So you're basically, in a weird sense, kind of a little bit adding layers in a sense in Lightroom where you can. So it's kind of cool. So now I've been using it a lot. So it really color theme helps you figure out complementary colors real quick and then put whatever together. So it's been cool. It's really cool to take it and throw it way off. Yeah. And then kind of work back to figure out, cool cinematic color themes, all that kind of stuff.
Yep. And that's another one of those that the LUTs are a little bit more a step into the color grading itself, which I like to do color grading. And I'll do it after the edit and whatever. And a color grading to me is more of a global, you're affecting lights and shadows and stuff like that. So it's kind of changing hues over all the different things within the image, which the LUTs do also. I specifically was trying to show her how to do a complementary of what was already there rather than applying a color grade, as a global to it. So, but I'm a big fan of the color grade because the color grade kind of brings everything together rather than trying to match one thing to another thing within the image. A color grade lets you bring everything in the image together, So that's usually the way I prefer to go. But if it's something like that where it's, just a plain headshot on a plain backdrop, and I just want to make it complementary to a very natural look to them, and I don't want to add a color grade to it, that's what I'll do is I'll usually take and just sample their skin tone and find out what the complementary color is. And I do that sometimes whenever I'm changing color of clothing. Like I did one of Jenny that she was wearing this pink dress. And I was like, it's not a horrible color for her skin tone, but I was like, I can do better. So I sampled her skin tone and I found this awesome teal green color that was a perfect complementary to her skin tone. So I swapped the color of her dress to that teal green and I showed it to her. She's like, oh my God, I need to start buying clothes in that color, So.
Wow.
Yeah.
Very useful.
Cool. All right. Well, Elise, you don't have to stick around, but this will be on YouTube, so you can come back and watch it anytime. I'll let you go to bed if you want.
Thank you so much, but I'll watch. I'll see what you do with the next one.
All right. Sounds good. Have a good night.
No, I'm going to stay on for just.
Oh, you're going to stay on. All right. Cool. Well,
yeah,
I'm going to jump on John, actually.
Uh-oh.
Bring this up here. Uh-oh. What? I'm gonna let you present this image. Tell us what's going on here and what you want to talk about.
No, it's just so when you said to post something up to talk about and so forth. I said, so I literally just randomly picked one, and I was like, I didn't know exactly what you were looking for, so I just picked one that I also did a behind the scenes shot with to kind of see my setup and what I did and so forth. So it was a typical shot model, young aspiring model, putting her portfolio together. So, we just shoot a couple.
Where is this? Oh, skate park in Philly. Okay.
Yeah, it's FDR skate park.
Very famous skate park.
Fairly often, trying not to shoot there anymore.
Oh yeah.
People keep asking me for themes and shit that always comes back to me. I'm like, oh God. Anyway, so yeah, it was a simple setup. It was daytime. It's under a highway, so it gives you just kind of like perfect, just kind of cast of light and so forth. So I just use the flash to bring.
Yeah, you got lots of nice, just soft ambient light, so you can just add in.
Yeah. Yeah, I literally just use those 2 lights mainly for highlight and just for like just a lower setting for sharpness. That's really about it. But like you could really shoot at natural light and it still would come out.
Yeah.
Dope.
I like the nice soft highlights on this side from that softbox that you had on the front 8200, and then I like this hard rim light that you got with that just little reflector on that back 8200. And then
Yeah, I just used that little I bought the little diffuser caps that they have to mainly put gels in them was the main reason I got them, but those little fuckers, well, like I honestly took those when I went over to France and shot a lot of stuff mainly with just them and didn't
actually
even like pull out the soft boxes
I've got
or anything.
I've got them for all of mine too. Actually, there's one on that one back there.
They're super dope. And like they got a little grid you can put on them and everything, and like they soften it just enough that if you got to shoot somewhere where you're kind of running and gunning and you might just need to set up 2 and kind of rock out real quick, they will do the job very, very well. Yeah, I like them. So yeah, I like the picture a lot. It came out pretty solid. The only thing I didn't like was a little bit of the harsh in her hair on her right side.
Yeah, it's a little blown out right there, but
yeah, that's about it. I could have brought it in more, even just like cloned it down a little bit, either using copy, you know. But I was like, it still looks cool. Fuck it.
Yeah, I hear you. I like the balance of exposure you did with the background ambient light. You know, you left enough exposure back there that we can see the skate park behind her, so there's context. You know.
Yeah, I brightened it at first. Like the first couple of times I like finished it and was like, all right, looked at it. It was brighter, and it just kind of took away from her because so much of the background kind of hits close to her skin tone. So it just interfered. It just didn't look right. So as soon as I just started darkening and pushing it back, and just kind of gave it a better flavor.
Yeah.
So
the other thing I like is all of the subtle leading lines going on in here. Like you've got her head centered right up here between these 2 main beams, and then you've got all these other leading lines that all point directly into her from different directions and just kind of bring you right up into this right here.
Yeah, I got lucky. It's weird. If you go back to the so that bench that she's sitting on, that thing is like heavy. Like you can't lift that. Like you need several people to lift that thing. And it's moved throughout that park more times than I can count. And just for whatever reason, somebody moved it there, and I was like, sweet.
That's because they're grinding on it and stuff, man. Come on, weren't you a skater when you were a kid?
So it just worked out. So it was just one of those that worked out, you know, area, situation, spot was just cool. So yeah, it really worked out. So
nice. Good. Cool.
Great shot. Well done, mate. Brilliant shot.
Martin, Jim, anybody want to say anything about
Very
it?
nice.
I love you were talking about color grading before, and then I just see the subtleties there that I normally do, which is if you get a model that makes an effort, it makes such a difference. But the shoes, the bracelet, the earrings, I've looked through it, everything complements each other. The background's been color graded in. I quite like that the leading lines are just slightly off a little, which I think makes it more interesting than being absolutely bang on. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, and
perfect symmetry doesn't look. It's uncomfortable sometimes.
Yeah,
especially with this type of street.
Doesn't look real almost.
What's your first name, Darko?
John.
John, have you dodged and burned on the legs and just subtlety around the stomach and that? Have you dodged and burned?
Yeah, a little bit around. So usually on like edits like this and kind of just like, you know, typical model set type of shots, I'll usually do a combination. I'll usually do a quick version of dodge and burn that I do using Google Nick or whatever it's called now. What's it called now?
It's DxO Nick.
I usually do a real quick version of it that way, where basically I use the detail extractor effect, and so I'll do 2 layers. I'll do one where I'll make the layer black and white, set the detail extractor, it automatically create really harsh highlights and darks. Usually put a soft light on it or so forth, and then go back and paint it in. And then I'll go back and use the detail extractor again normally, and then that'll bring out just kind of any other types of harsh tones, and then just kind of put where I want and smooth everything out. And it just is a quick way to bring out those highlights without having to like really go back and paint and dodge and burn. So like usually on quick edits like this and stuff, I can't do quick, but I try and do that. I use that as a alternative. So it just so happened because the light was just perfect on this that it just hit it on the mark, and I didn't really have to do much else. I didn't have to go back and like really paint, go into detail to really get the dodging and burning right. So it naturally fell into place pretty fast. So this is just one of those pictures I was lucky, just everything just worked.
Yeah, the more you practice, the better you get, and the luckier you get. That's good. And what was that called? DxO Nick?
Yeah, it used to be. I forgot who had it before Google, but Google bought it.
Yeah, I think it was originally Nick.
Yeah. And then Google bought it out, and Google had it for several years, and then DxO bought it out of Google. While it was Google, it was free. DxO bought it out, and they charge for it now, and they've improved it and added AI to it and stuff like that. But it's still pretty affordable. It's under $100. But actually, let me open up Photoshop again here real quick, and we'll just open a random image. So there's, helps if I got a layer selected. It's called Nick Collection. You've got analog effects, which is like a whole bunch of film presets and stuff like that. You've got color effects, which has a ton of different stuff you can do with it.
You really only need color effects.
Yeah, you really do only need color effects. Define. Define is a noise reduction, I believe. HDR effects, which I've never played with. Sharpener, I've never played with. Silver Effects Pro actually does a really cool job on a lot of black and white conversions. So that one I have played with. And VIII, I don't remember what that one does. So
in Silver Effects, you can pull off the 3D look that everybody's into now with headshots and portraits.
Yeah.
I have tried it. It's kind of neat. It does work. A little faster than if you use the 3D modeling in Photoshop. It takes fucking forever to render.
Yeah.
So DxO is not in that. Is DxO in those filters that you've just shown me there, Josh?
No, DxO is the company that owns Nick.
It is the filter.
Okay. So it's separate because okay, fair enough.
No, DxO is not the filter. DxO is the company that owns the Nick suite of software now.
Right. Okay.
So
you only really need color stuff. That's really it. But the thing is, it's weird. Like you go on DxO to purchase it, and it shows you like, oh, you can buy them separate. But then when you go to buy them separate, it won't let you buy them separate.
Yeah.
Well, good night, everyone.
Good night, Elise.
Good
night.
Good night.
Thanks again. Bye-bye.
Yeah, Martin, if you go over to Nick collection.dxo.com, this is what we're talking about.
Okay.
So yeah, actually, it looks like the full suite is $100. I actually upgraded from the free version, which you can't find the free version anymore. You might be able to find it on a download site somewhere, but
I think I have the free version somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love it though. Like color effects, you can do some really fun things and some nice little shortcuts to get some other things done faster. So
yeah. I've recently purchased Luminar 4.
Yeah.
Look at that, and it's they sell it very well, but at the end of the day, it doesn't do. If you're into Lightroom and you know what you're doing in Lightroom and Photoshop, it doesn't actually do a lot except give you a quick rough edit.
I actually I downloaded the free trial of Luminar 4, and I like it. I mean, the AI is pretty cool, and I mean, it's definitely something I would play with landscape stuff because I mean, I don't put nearly as much work into my landscape stuff as I put into like my portraits and, you know, any kind of portraiture stuff, people. So, you know, I do like what I can do with it and achieve with it on landscapes. But from what I've seen, a lot of the AI, they're trying to really target like the portrait photographers now also. So, yeah. Definitely interesting. They're definitely making some leaps, you know, ahead. So,
yeah, well, we've spoken about that before with Portrait Pro version 2 and
oh
stuff.
my God, that was a private conversation with you and I. I mean, Portrait Pro. Oh, ouch. That's all I gotta say. Ouch. All right, I see Steven Bueller over there. How you doing this evening, Steven?
Doing good. Good to see you, people.
Good. Oh, there was one other one I wanted to bring up real quick while John is on here, actually, because he didn't put it in that folder, but it's floating around in the group. And it is... Come on, where you at? That one. Boom. Uh-oh. Hey, this is the one that says right here, critiques welcome, feel free to destroy it. That's all I gotta say. Feel free to destroy it. So who wants to take the first shot?
Come on.
You know the only reason I'm bringing this up is because you put that there.
It's all good. I'm actually submitting these to Vogue Italy. So.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Was this taken while you were over there? Over in Paris?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Cool, man.
I love the fact that you used the male model.
Yeah, so this was during Ralph Lauren's show, and they were pulling models out. They shot it in this like real famous like arboretums like in the middle of Paris. So while there was like two sides to it. So one side was the show, and they were pulling models out to the other side to do photos, and it was me and a bunch of other photographers that were set up there. Everybody was just running around, just literally stealing lights, stealing cameras, running around, can I borrow this? Can I borrow that? And just creating and having fun. So it was cool, man. It was a really cool experience. And just loved the way the headshots came out. I'd say more than the rest of them came out really cool too, but loved the way the headshots.
You see, when you get into pictures like this that are done on the fly, and you're looking for a critique there, John, I mean, where do you start? I mean, it's a good shot. I mean, pulling the silver reflector out just a little bit lower out of shot, and the crop would have been better. If you've got a second shot, then the reflector then just takes it away, and the watch is part of the shot. Mm-hmm. I mean, there is nothing specifically I can feel that there is wrong with that. And the background there, was that a natural flower background or plastic?
Yeah, it was natural. It was a giant arboretum. Those flowers. So
if you're actually in that situation, and you say you're firing on the go and shooting, I mean, you could have put a little bit. I mean, what could you do? You do lots, but I mean, as a shot of these, I can't critique it. The reflector at the bottom, I would have liked to have put probably an SB900 or a flash just behind it, just to give him that rim on a rim away from the, so it doesn't look quite like colours. That's about it. I can't critique. I love the eyes. I love the hands. Very masculine, and the depth of three-dimensional, the shade from the right. It's a good shot, buddy. There's nothing wrong with that.
Appreciate it. Yeah, the reflector. I had it there, and it was more for reflection and so forth for a headshot, and he just rested his arms on there, and the pictures that shot just really, out of all the other poses he did, I just like that one the most. So I tried doing a couple of things to get rid of the reflector. I was like, all right, let me just like move some of the leaves over. Let me try this. Nothing looked right. Everything looked weird, and I was like, fuck it.
Yeah. It looks like a great shot.
I agree with Martin. Go ahead, Melissa. Sorry.
Oh, it's fine. So you're in an arboretum. I don't even know how to say that. But the bottom of the reflector kind of looks like water. And I know you're good at compositing. It would be pretty surrealistic if you had him like looking as if he was like standing in a puddle of some sort because it's already kind of like glowing, you know what I mean? So if you can manipulate this to look like water and then take the matte off the flowers in the background and leave him matte himself, it would probably add this really cool surrealistic vibe that you normally do. And it would make it pop a little more as himself, who's already matte. The background being matte as well, I feel like he kind of gets lost a little bit, so that might be the solution you're looking for.
Okay. Yeah, I tried matting the background more and pushing him out, not matting. Basically, matting the picture, then coloring in the back. I have brain farts now. I cannot think of the word. But basically, just painting out the background so it's just matted
Masking.
and pushing him out. Thank you. I don't know why. And painting him out. The reason I did that mainly was because the magazines kind of have a standard to how certain stuff has to look. It can't be so over the top unrealistic that, you know what I'm saying? And then it can't be too hyper sharpened and so forth, or then like, so it's a weird thing. So
Yeah.
they sent me like all the specs and stuff, what I had to do for it. So I kind of did everything I could to fall into that spectrum as much as I can.
See,
So
I would go the opposite direction from what they said. One, I like the shot. I do like the shot. It's a very interesting shot. I like the styling of it and everything. I like the background of it. I'm going the opposite direction with them. I think that instead of trying to pull him out of it more, whenever I look at Vogue or, that style of magazine, I feel like he looks too sharp. He's over sharpened. I would actually matte entirely. Another thing that really drives me crazy is the sharpest things, or what appears the sharpest things in the image, and it has to do a lot with contrast, are the buttons right here on his sleeve. And then that watch. That watch looks like it's composited in. It's so sharp. And it draws my eye straight down to it. I would actually unsharpen the watch and matte it, and that would keep your eye from being drawn down to the reflector that's down there already. I would probably, back off on the sharpening of everything in general and just give it an overall matte, because his clothing, even though I know it's not really matte, it gives the appearance of matte because of the texture, the nap of the fabric. So it looks matte. And the sweater looks matte because of the nap of the fabric, or the weave. So the only things that does not look matte in this image is his skin and anything that isn't fabric, so the buttons and the watch. So I would actually probably go the opposite direction and kind of tie it in, because whenever I look at Vogue, and trust me, I look at Vogue a lot and stuff like that because I just love looking at the imagery. They don't tend to do this. Let me separate them out with sharp versus matte. It's usually overall matte. That's the style that they do. So I would go the opposite direction, especially if you're going for the Vogue Italy, is get rid of that sharpness and give it an overall matte that blends it in. And I would really back that watch off, and I maybe even just crop right through the bottom of the watch and get rid of that reflector altogether.
Yeah.
Because you're not trying to sell the watch. The watch is not the main focus of this image.
Yeah.
It's more this jacket and this sweater and just his, Yeah.
So yeah, no, 100% I agree. So yeah, thank you.
Another thing that really grabs my eye and drives me crazy is this one little light spot right off of his shoulder. I don't know why, but that just grabs my eye and I can't not look at it.
I think it's a leaf or some shit.
Yeah, so I would probably just clone that out.
Cool. Appreciate it. So yeah, their stuff it really is very matty, which is very opposite of how I'm used to editing.
Yeah.
It's the more like just straight advertisement stuff or heavy composite advertisement.
Yeah, no, Vogue has its own look.
Yeah. Like usually I'm noticing, like, since I'm shooting more of this fashion stuff now, it's because everything's so quick is why I'm noticing everything's going where it's very flat, very plain, very well, plain also because of, you know, the focus is on the clothes, and the designers don't want the clothes to look different.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, and how you may edit them and so forth. So,
Exactly.
so
See
that
right here with the way the clothes look
kind
kind of matte and his skin and, you know, everything else looks sharp. I'm not looking at his clothes. I'm looking at his face and his eyes and his hands and the watch, and, you know.
That's the editor in me.
Yeah.
So, no, I agree. Thank you, man. I appreciate it.
Yep.
Don't worry, John. You can rip this out of mine then.
Did you post something, Martin?
Yeah, I've got a model turning up in a minute to collect a print. So if I have to disappear, please move on.
No, I asked, did you post something? You said, don't
Yes,
worry,
I
John,
did.
you can tear mine up.
Put it in the specific crop folder. Yeah.
Point it out to me. Which one?
Bottom, left, there.
This one?
Yeah.
Cool.
Interesting.
Was this done with color gel lighting in any way, or is this just a straight post-processing thing?
Exactly the first question I thought you might ask. This is all done in Photoshop. The blue and the pink, all done in Photoshop with the you know, funny you should say, but with the complementary color work. So it's done with a gradient from the left and then a gradient from the right, and then done in soft light.
Right.
So actually, when you're shooting against black, it actually complements it because then you get that beautiful glow on the hair.
I don't know how I feel about this image. I feel like
I love it. And the reason why is because I've been messing with LEDs lately with these colors, so it's just been a personal bias. The only thing that really bothers me is the bright white on her face. I just feel like that could be toned down just a little bit, and then
the hat.
Just smooth it all together to like have the light wrap around, since it's already so like mythical and fun that like her face is so bright, and I know that's the focal point, but maybe bringing the bright all the way down or removing it, like toning it down a little bit altogether, would bring that balance that like I'm looking for in terms of like my eye, because I love the color palette. I love it so much.
I agree with
you know what? Melissa, I wish I could show you the original because I've been messing about with the hat and the face because I started to think it started to look a little bit like too white.
Yeah, I agree with Melissa on the face, and the hat is way too white. It's the brightest thing in frame. Even with that cheetah pattern on it, it grabs and almost looks like you stuck a sticker on it on the image. You know, like you got a sheet of stickers of different hats and you stuck it on there because it doesn't match anything else. It, you know, so I would probably bring down the exposure on the hat and bring up the saturation of whatever color you applied to the hat, just to balance it out with the rest of the image.
So Martin, how did you go about, talk me through how you went about the coloring?
Okay, so John, I shot in with Ellen Chrome and just lit it with no filters on whatsoever, no color palette, nothing. Then you create a separate layer on top in Photoshop, which is blank, a complete blank layer. Then you grab the gradient tool and you mix the colors from the top.
The gradient, okay. Did you use the gradient in Photoshop directly or in RAW?
Shot it in RAW.
In RAW? So
sorry, I didn't quite catch the
gradient
question.
tool in RAW, correct?
Yes.
Cool, okay. That part was good. I think it's just a little much. One cool way you can do it that works really well, and I'm not used to this Zoom. How do I minimize this?
How do you minimize what?
Oh, exit full screen. There we go. Zoom. I got it. I'm pulling up my Photoshop. But
if you want to share your screen, you can too, by the way.
Well, I don't have the picture. So.
Okay.
But basically what you want to do is what you did in pulling up raw using the gradient tools to bring in the color. That's good. That's definitely a good way to do it. From there, what I would do to make the color look a little bit more natural and not feel like it's kind of overwhelming on the subject is to, sorry, hold on 1 second. Went up stuff. Is to then that separate layer that you have that you're the copy layer that you're using that you added the gradients to, right? You want to create a mask, invert the mask so you can paint it in. And then once you paint it in, I would just subtly paint it on the sides of the subject. I wouldn't do kind of fully immersing them in it. And then from there, you know, maybe just adjust the opacity so you kind of have a better idea of where it sits and so forth. Then after you do that, I'm going to add one little thing, which is pointed out because I never remember the damn name. So double click on that layer after you paint it in where you want it, and then you're going to use the blend if tool. So, and I'm sure Josh can highlight more of the blend if tool. Blend if tool is an awesome little tool because it really allows you to pull in subtly where the light is hitting. And what you can do is the trick with it where you hit Alt. And if you're using a PC or using PC or a Mac.
Here, let me do something real quick. Let me do this.
Yeah, Josh is going to show you real quick.
I'm gonna
I'm
gonna do some crazy weird stuff real quick just to. All right, so let's just change. All right. So blend if tool, basically you take the layer that you've made your adjustments on. All right, and if you double click on the layer, not the name of the layer, it will bring up the layer style. All right. And then you've got this blend if right here. All right. Blend if, there's this layer and there's underlying layer. And basically it allows you to choose how things blend. So if I want this layer, anything that is brighter, not to be affected, I'll bring down the brightness. If I want the dark, and I mean everything in this image is black, so you really can't see the difference. But it's also vice versa. So I can do blend if the underlying layer is darker than or lighter than. You see that? But here's the other thing. If you hold down the Alt, the Alt, however you want to say it, before clicking on it, it actually breaks them open and it allows you to blend it even smoother. So you see how how subtle that is? It doesn't have just the hard. And vice versa, you can do it on the dark sides also.
Because I see what you're going for. You want that nice glow around them and kind of that hue and so forth. So if you just paint it in a little bit more subtle, inverting your mask, and then use that blend if tool, it'll just subtly give it right on the edge and give it that real natural look to it and what you see in a lot of photos and so forth.
Fantastic.
Yeah, exactly. So you see, I've broken the blend if right here for all of my highlights. So now if I toggle this whole green scene on and off, you can see that basically I've got it to where it's just affecting him, and it's not affecting the background.
I'm familiar with that, but I haven't started to use it in the way that I understand where you're going with that totally.
Yeah, it takes a little getting used to, but once you get used to it, it's very powerful.
Yeah. I can tell you, for most composite artists, when we're doing glow effects, painting, that kind of stuff to create light reflections, you know, hues and all that stuff, that blend if tool is everything.
Fantastic. Thanks, Melissa. Thank you.
Sorry, I'm eating chocolate-covered espresso beans here. Y'all can talk too, by the way.
Whose is this?
I can't help myself. This is Melissa. Nice. Yeah. Who wants to jump on it first? Melissa, actually, first, give us a little rundown. How was this shot? What do you want us to talk about?
Honestly, I just got a new camera body, so I'm jumping from crop to full frame. So this was one of like the second shoot I ever did with this camera body. I started only doing photography about a year ago. So I've come a long way in the last year.
Welcome to the addiction.
Thanks. I spent a lot of money in the past year.
I am an honorary member.
She got herself an EOS R.
Right.
Yeah. So I shot Adrienne Trinity. She's fucking amazing. The only thing is, it's not really content. It's more or less like, I don't know, getting used to the camera and sharing and everything else. I mean, I shot it at 2.2. I use a lot more natural light. I'm a graphic designer, so a lot of the time I do most of my corrections in Photoshop to just achieve the studio look. So that's pretty much my background in terms of like, achieving deeper shadows or lighting or whatever else.
I like seeing stuff like this coming from creative mind, not technical mind people. You're a creative mind person. It's more of what can I create artistically? Even when in your shooting process, you're thinking when you're shooting, it's not what are the technical, how do I achieve proper exposure? How do I compose, blah, blah, blah. No, you're looking at it and what is pleasing to your eye artistically. That's when you're shooting. And you can see that because you can see this off-kilt angle, Dutch angle look that you've got going on.
I've been doing Dutch ever since you told me about it. I fucking love it.
I know.
I do it with everything now. Oh my god, I fucking love it so much. You told me about Dutch a month ago. I fucking mastered that shit and it's amazing.
You wait until you get old, you can't do anything else.
Yep.
I had this film guy who used to do nothing but Dutch and like all this stuff in the shot.
No, dude, you don't even know. I love Dutch. Because I did a piece where it was a woman who had just had a baby and the picture is very straight, and Josh mentioned about the Dutch and I started doing it in other pieces and I'm like, ooh, I like.
There's something about, especially with artistic people shooting as well, when you put a model into an environment that they're happy with, this says to me straight away that this environment and the portrait works for me. That's what it does. I don't care about the exposure. I don't care about whether it's technically right. And as you said, Josh, it just comes from it. I mean, look at the highlights on the knees from the latex or the leather. Look at the face. It's supposed to be like that. Do you know what I mean? It's not supposed to be anything else. It's just a great shot.
Yep.
Yeah, she posed well. Definitely like it.
The one thing that kind of bothers me here is her chest. It is so white compared to everything else in the frame. Her face has some color to it. Her hands are dark and have color to it. And then her chest is just right there in this sea of black. So all I'm drawn to is boobs. And that's not what I usually look at in images. And I'm like, I would probably tone down the exposure or try and add some saturation or some color matching just to kind of bring this back in, rein it in a little bit, because honestly, to me, that look, this weird, not triangle, but rectangle right here with the harness in the middle of it, that grabs my attention out of everything else in the shot. And it's because, one, you've got somewhat sharp edges, and this shape right here that's very high contrast, black on basically white. That draws me away from. I'm not looking at her face. I'm not looking at anything else. I'm just drawn right to that. And even like the things with the little highlights, like this whatever around her waist, and even all of the little reflections of the studs on her boots. I'm not drawn to those nearly as much as I am to just this bright, right in the center of the image, So I would probably try to tone that down a bit So you're less drawn to that, and you look more around the image and experience the whole scene, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So Melissa, you edited this in Photoshop?
Yeah. I don't even know how to use Lightroom.
Okay. So what did you do? Tell me a little what you did.
Honestly, I just play with everything until it looks right. I'm a huge fan of the what if blend, that we were just talking about. I use that a lot. I'm a really huge fan of just hand painting everything in with a tablet as well. So like a lot of those blue overtones I added myself. Her hair is actually really black. I just wanted it to be a little more blue black.
So you painted it in through masking or through
Yeah, masking with overlay, and then adding some multiply just to add those deeper shadows, and then the what if to make it all kind of come together. This had to be at least 20 layers to really achieve that blue black aesthetic.
I see a new friendship sparking up right here between Darko and Melissa.
And then like honestly, like the location is pretty key, to really bring it all together. I shoot mostly natural light. I'm trying to learn more about artificial light, but I don't have enough friends. So, I just keep doing my thing until I find the right one. That's all I got really. It's a lot of masking, a lot of overlay. I'm a huge fan of blue. That's pretty much in all my pieces. If there is no blue, you might as well ask me what's wrong. Yeah, so that's about it.
Well, I'll say as far as color matching tones go, if you like blue a lot, of course, the go-to always cinematic
Orange.
look and all that, orange. So the more you pump red and orange into the skin tones, it's automatically going to be that natural contrast between the two that's going to always look real cool.
Yeah, but that in this specific shot would actually take away from it because the whole goth theme and feel of it is a very pale, desaturated, almost sickly skin tone that I would go for the goth look. When I see this shot, this is what I think. I think Underworld.
Yeah,
right?
that's what she was going for.
Yeah.
And she wanted it like really dark and grungy.
Desaturated skin, not full of life. And orange it conveys as life.
Yeah, the next shot I submitted is actually the total opposite of this one, which is the fun part.
The next one, this one?
The one before that.
Oh, the one
It's
before
literally,
that.
yeah.
Which one?
That one, yeah. Literally, you're just on it.
Oh, this one.
Yeah. Yep. That girl. Yep.
Okay.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah. I like how you do not focus on let me do all of this crazy skin touching and make perfection, I like how you leave everything raw. It's real. You're more about the aesthetic and the artistic feel of the image and not about, oh, this is a beauty editorial where every last pore has to be perfect. No. You leave it raw, you leave it the real person, and then you focus more on the creative side of how do I make this a dynamic image artistically,
Yeah.
And I like that with your work.
I like it. Okay.
I like how rich her eye is compared to everything else in the scene because I am drawn straight to that just chocolatey milk chocolate brown right there. It's like the saturation and the luminance of it just draws me right into her eyes. I'm like, wow,
Yeah, even when I was shooting this, even I had the moment where I was like, holy shit, your eyes are awesome. Because like in the light, like when you talk to her in like the house, they look dark brown, but when they're in the light, they're like a reddish, golden, milky brown. It was really cool.
Yeah.
Almost just a little bit of Rembrandt just there on the right eye.
Yeah, just right here.
Works for me, mate.
Yep.
Nice shot, Melissa.
Thank you.
I even kind of like the dappled light that's being created by it coming through her fingers right here.
Yeah.
You know, there's so much interest going on in this shot. And this is, you know, that's another reason why I like this, is because it's not what I'm seeing repetitively from so many photographers that are, you know, I want to do studio headshots and this and that and off-camera flash. This is more of just the raw, like, natural light. Let me find a abandoned house or, you know, whatever, and shoot in this window and just, yeah. I love this style. I need to get back to shooting stuff like this myself personally, because I just love it. But
yeah, that was actually like 5 minutes from my house in the random park, and I had her sit near a tree, and I just was like, play with your face. And you know, she's one of my friends too, so that helps when you like know the person.
Yeah.
A friend of mine said the other day I wanted to become a professional photographer. He said, what's the difference between professional and being a hobbyist? I said, as a professional, you shoot every other people's shit that they want. You never get to shoot the shit that you want.
Exactly.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Exactly. You know, they're paying the bills, so you shoot what they want.
Play with your face. I'm gonna have to use that.
Pretty much.
I like this shot, Melissa. I mean, there's nothing that I could tell you to do with this shot that wouldn't take away from the style that you're trying to achieve with it.
Okay.
You know?
I mean, I'm just trying to like see like the progress I made over the last couple of months. You know what I mean? Because I've been taking the advice you guys give me like really seriously, because I had a huge problem with over highlighting, like like her face having over highlights and stuff like that. So we're trying to focus on that too, like throughout the last month or so.
Melissa, tell me something, Melissa. Do you look back at your shots from 12 months ago and go, oh, that's crap?
Yeah.
Okay, well, in 12 months' time, you'll come back to this as yourself and you'll say, what was I doing? Because everybody else will love it. But if you're progressing as a photographer yourself all the time, you always look back and go, okay. But there's one particular shot you might keep going back to and going, I'm really pleased with that. It's very rarely you're happy with stuff from 12 months ago.
I only have one shot. I have one shot in this entire set that I fell in love with, but I didn't submit it. It's her eyes are just ridiculous in it. But I really want to get feedback on this one because it was challenging.
If you really want me to nitpick this one, I have a couple things. I mean, I would probably clone out that one little whatever that is right there. It almost looks like she's got an industrial in her ear, but I don't see the rest of it. I would get rid of that because that just draws me into all of this sea of darkness right here. The other thing is I would probably tone down the highlights on her fingers here, because that really is the brightest thing in frame. And I would rather have her gaze and her face be the subject of this shot. So I would probably tone down the exposure that's right here on the backs of the fingers and everything. And maybe even under the neck. Or bring up the highlights and exposures right here. And just because that gaze right here from her lip to her bangs, just this area right here, that is just so intense. And I just, you know, there's emotion, there's a story there. And I think that if you tone down this other stuff, it eliminates that distraction and lets people really just look and go, wow, what's going through this girl's mind? What is she looking at? What's she thinking? You know, what's the story here? You know?
It's got a moody port look to it. So like you could even get away with like even doing a bit of a circular blur around. Blurring just a little bit more of like her hands and just focusing directly on the face even more and punch out the face more. Yeah, like usually you can't do that with certain, but like these types of shots you can.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's cool.
Jim, you're being awfully quiet there tonight. I don't think I've heard your voice more than maybe a word or two.
I can ramble, and we got new people here.
Exactly, ramble. We got new people here.
No, I think you guys
John makes my heart happy because I love his work.
Huh?
Mr. Chapman. Him giving me compliments.
She's swooning over Chapman.
I love his work. I'm sorry, I've been following it for like 3 years, and I'm like, oh my god, Jonathan Chapman.
Little shout out for John real quick.
Why is it?
All right, y'all can talk. You know, I don't have to spark every single conversation here.
I think we waiting to see what you're doing.
I was just looking through some of your stuff since you're the new guy on the block here tonight. I'm making sure people can actually see like your work.
I've got a question for somebody on a technical issue that I've been having with Lightroom.
All right.
And shoving it across to customers in Lightroom.
Mm-hmm.
How many people have taken an edit from a collection that they've created,
mm-hmm.
Taken that photograph, reopened it in Photoshop, and it doesn't reappear as the edit back in Lightroom?
I can't help you on this because I don't work in Lightroom primarily.
So you said that
you're saying that you're taking it from a collection, not a folder, but the collection, and you bring that Control E into Photoshop or your editor, and then you're saving it back, and it's not showing up appropriately in Lightroom?
Yeah, and I've done it from the main folder as well, off the hard drive, and it seems to be grabbing a cached image rather than the new image that you've edited.
Okay.
So the only
a way that you could get around that, and it's just really troubleshooting because that's kind of weird, but Adobe's not unfamiliar with weird things happening. I would try just manually Control Shift saving into the directory and importing that new file, or syncing that folder after you save that file. When you pop over back into Lightroom, it should pop up automatically. If it's not popping up automatically with the edits that you've enabled, try resyncing that folder.
I did that, Jim. I did that, and it still grabs the old cached image. The only way that I've solved it is to change the name of the file and go back in and resync the file. So it actually changed the name of the image.
Are you using smart previews, or are you using the actual?
Yeah, I tried the preview files, and I tried getting rid of the preview file and just going back to the original image, and nothing worked. It just kept coming back to the cached image. The only way that I've solved it is to rename the image and resync the main folder.
That is weird.
It sounds like that's a scratch disk problem.
Yeah, probably.
How it's saving to the scratch disk, or it's not saving to the scratch disk. So then what happens is you're just having the file, wherever it is mainly, is popping up in the collection, but Adobe can't read back to it because it usually reads back from the scratch disk and puts back on.
Yeah.
So it's basically like it's missing communication.
It also sounds like something similar that I was experiencing back when I used Lightroom right before going to Capture One, where I would go from Adobe or from Lightroom into Photoshop, do my edit, save and close, go back into Lightroom, right? And whenever I would bring it up, it would look like I hadn't edited it. But whenever I would go into the develop module, if I would zoom into 100% and then zoom back out to fit screen, it would recreate the preview with all the edits.
Correct.
Yeah, I've had something similar happen like that as well.
Yeah, I never did find an answer for it because that was literally like right there about the time I was jumping over to Capture One.
Yeah, the only thing when you're doing headshots for a company and you've got 50 headshots and somebody wants an edit, it's a pain in the tush. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I think maybe also I think something else I forget I was on some other message board or something. It was a similar issue. Somebody said to reset the scratch disk, meaning like take it, once you get done whatever, you got some time and some space, get rid of stuff off your scratch disk and kind of start over, and it should fix the problem.
I was working at a company about 2 months ago where all the scratch disks were always full on the computer, and there's the issue where obviously you don't want to delete everything. What I would suggest is migrating whatever you have over to a larger external, and then just editing off that hard external if you're using a desktop. Personally, I never use my actual disk space. I always edit on something external because it's a lot more streamlined, and you'll never run into that problem.
Yeah.
That's what. Yeah, Melissa, that's what I'm doing. I've got 2
Well,
terabytes.
If you're running off of the Creative Cloud, meaning that you're using Lightroom, and then you're dumping it into Lightroom, and then you're editing in Lightroom Classic, but you're keeping it on Lightroom. So, for instance, you can edit on your phone or whatever.
Yeah.
It's going to make a copy to the scratch disk no matter what.
Oh, really? I don't use Lightroom, so how would I know?
Yeah. It's the one thing I hate with Lightroom more than anything else.
So I'm not sure what your setup is, Martin. I opened up Lightroom. I do keep the most recent versions of Lightroom just so I stay refreshed on it.
Right.
Have you gone in and purged your actual cache right here on your scratch disk?
No.
I would go in and do that first. Also make sure that you have a nice, large cache setup. And you can see right here, I have this set as my A drive. That's actually a SSD drive that I have just as an Adobe scratch disk. It's a 100 gigabyte SSD that I only use it for Adobe scratch disk purposes. For Photoshop and Lightroom and damn it, I've gone blank. the video Adobe product. Yeah. I run the actual applications themselves on a second SSD, and then I'm crazy. I've got my OS on one SSD. I've got my applications on a second SSD. I've got my cache disk on a third SSD, and then I've got all of my data sitting on actual drives, high-speed drives. Aside from that, so everything's in different physical locations. But yeah, I'm crazy like that.
So what does purging the cache actually do?
Completely dumps it.
Okay. So that won't get rid of any of your preview images. They're all kept somewhere separate.
Yeah, no, those are all saved in the actual catalog folder, right, in the preview subfolder.
Brilliant. Okay, I'll give that a go.
Yeah. All right. These things are addictive, and people keep buying them for me because they know that it's my favorite, and I can't help myself. I just eat them. Sorry, guys. All right. Back to the group. Okay, so that's basically everything anybody dropped in there. Let's go back to the group itself. If I can find it. So we talked about Elise. Oh, Jim, you posted a bunch of stuff, dude, and I'm liking a lot of the stuff I saw you post. Is there anything specifically you would like to highlight out of everything you've posted the last couple days?
A little bit of variety. Just jump on something.
Well, let's start right here then. Lots of ring shots.
Yeah, this was sparked because I was talking to John earlier today. Just popped on his post with his the tattoo gun going back and forth, talking about the 90 macro. And yeah, just got thinking about some ring shots that I've had going on for the past few years. Brought up my old collection, updated it because I needed to, and I love those right there because the bracelet on the right, that was the bride's grandmother's.
Oh,
She
wow.
was an airwoman for World War II and one of the first units of women airmen to be put in, and those were the bracelets that they were presented.
Wow, that's cool. I was actually flipping back and forth between these two shots, trying to figure out if this was something that you did, because I see all this stuff on the table that's not really there. And then I see all these particles in the air, and I was trying to figure out if you added those in post or if this was something you actually did while shooting.
It hit see more.
Huh?
And it hit see more in the description.
Oh, well, you know, I was trying to.
No, I actually had a tiny little like 1 ounce spray bottle, a little spritzer.
That I was thinking that this was actually done while shooting because I was looking at the reflections in the gym right here, and I was like, yeah, that's just way too much effort to go that far if this was in post.
Oh yeah, no, way too much, especially for a wedding.
Yeah.
Now I was sitting in the middle of the bride's getting ready room, and there's like 6 bridesmaids just arguing about makeup and everything else. Mom over there, bride is trying to get her hair done. She had her little miniature pincher like bouncing around, and Alyssa was trying to chase the wreaths around. That was just some rose petals on a metal surface, and I grabbed some tin foil from the bar.
Yeah, that's so cool.
Thank you.
Nice. I like how you caught the reflection with the surface of the table right there, creating the bokeh.
I love the reflection on that. If it was just a regular metal surface, or I mean wood surface, then it wouldn't have been picked up. But as you can see from the reflections, it was some good glass.
Yeah, nice. This I love. with the little old toy trucks and car and this I love.
Yeah, the guys were literally like getting ready or getting dressed, and there was like nothing that I could do. It was just a room full of dudes putting their pants on. It was like, okay, let me get the rings, let me go out back, and I was just looking for a surface to work with for texture. And one of the kids just had all of these just Matchbox cars on the table. So, and if you saw this couple's house, it looks like you're walking into like Cracker Barrel with all those old antique knickknacks all over the place.
Yeah.
So that little beat up pickup was just a perfect touch for them.
Yep. Very cool. That's a cool shot too. Is that the bottom of a wine or martini glass?
Yep. Bottom of a wine glass, just turn that over, threw some light on it. The table for dinner, and we had like 5 other people that were just, we were being photographers. If we even ever get a table or some chairs, we're put on the table where it's like a bunch of the people that you invited but you hope didn't say yes.
Yeah.
Those are really cool. Really cool.
Very cool. And John Harville, this was your 90 millimeter macro that you were talking about, right?
That was taken with the 135 GM.
Oh, okay. Where was the one that you did with the 90?
I haven't shot with a 90 except for flowers.
Oh.
That was a while ago. I was testing out the close focus of the 135, so I headed down to the tattoo parlor and I used the one light setup with the 8200, and I was about 3 feet back, or maybe I was closer, because you could focus pretty close with the 135 and froze the needle going into the skin.
Very cool.
John posted this one up, and Alyssa's fighting me right now to not pick up a drone, and all of a sudden John posts this, and I want a new lens and some ink.
Isn't that the truth?
Yeah, my left arm is blasted now. It's almost completely black. I got one more session to finish that off. My right arm upper half is blasted. Now I just need to work down on that to get it covered. But yeah, that 135. I go Vegas next week and gonna do a steampunk and a little bow peep session, I guess you could say.
Since you're talking about your arm being blasted, there you go.
Yeah.
Look at that big Sony camera right there. What happens when you fall out of love with Sony and go fucking Canon or Nikon?
I'm not like that. I'll stick a brand and die with it.
I hear you. I'm just messing with you.
I don't get these guys. I'm just going to own a Sony, a Canon, a Fuji, Pentax. Forget that. I can't afford the lenses. I'll stick with the Sony and the GMs and the Zeiss. But I need to get a 35. I just don't know when, since I just bought the 135.
And we're back to Jim Carnes on this one, by the way.
Yep.
I like the girl. That's cool.
I do too. I really feel like this rim light that you added was absolutely necessary, because otherwise her red curls would have blended into this bokeh in the background and you would have had no separation whatsoever. As you can see, like her hair blends into the bokeh right here. It almost just like fades into it. So this rim, even though it's really almost too harsh, it's what's giving the separation between her hair and all of this bokeh in the background.
Yep.
That
was good. That was maybe a few nights ago. Just decided to go out and have some fun.
Nice. Those are usually the best.
Actually, that is Alyssa's student. She's been teaching her, training her as an equestrian for a couple years now.
Nice. Good girl.
What was really fun is seeing the difference of the compression there.
Yeah, I'm looking all back through here.
Distance. Yep, that was 200 mil versus 90.
Yeah. Yep. Crazy, isn't it? I'm really interested in what the background back there that was throwing all those little bokeh balls. What was that? Was that like the icicle string lights or something, where there was just tons and tons of little points? Or
no, this is in the circle in Easton, so it's the downtown circle. It is a roundabout going around a small centerpiece for everybody to just kind of walk around, and all of the trees are lit up on both sides of the road. So,
gotcha.
Yep, the bokeh that was actually behind her was starting probably 25 yards.
Yeah.
And then those in that one are, there's one tree right behind her, and then a lot of those are across the street.
Yeah, I was just looking at the density, how many there were here. and trying to gauge that on this, because I was just looking at the actual quote unquote quality of the bokeh, and how a lot of them will refer to this as like an onion. You know, they're like, oh, that's terrible bokeh. It's got the onion to it, because you see all the little layers. And I was trying to debate on if that was onion or if that was just the density of all the little pinpoints of light creating that same illusion. You know?
Gotcha. No, what I'm really loving about the Sony's bokeh, I forget who it was. I believe it was Zeiss. That people were keying in on, like the Zeiss bokeh, how at a certain point it swirls.
Yeah.
It doesn't become crisp balls. It does this cat eye bit.
Yeah.
But if you do it with an environmental, it gives that really kind of spherical swirl that just sucks you in.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not one of those that I like to zoom in on the bokeh and be like, "Oh, that's terrible bokeh, blah blah blah." You know, it's honestly, I'm looking at an image back here, and when I see the bokeh in the background, I'm thinking more like, "Wow, that's a nice aesthetic to the image." I'm not zooming in and going, but the only reason I was actually noticing this one was because I saw the previous image, which made me look at this, and I was sitting there more of a curiosity in my mind trying to figure out, is this onion peel look because of the density of the number of lights, or is that because of the characteristics of the lens that was being used? You know?
Yep. Yeah, it looks a little like the compression.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I haven't quite moved to primes just yet, because I cannot get rid of my 70 to 200 because of this.
Yeah.
It's a gorgeous shot, man.
Thank you.
Yep.
Yeah, going back to the one with the 90, that's actually a background swap.
Oh, is it? All right.
Not really a swap, but there was nothing camera right.
Gotcha.
Nice.
Here you go. Speaking of background swaps. Come up. This was a background swap. And actually, let me see if I can find that image, Jack. I don't know where I've got it, though. Talk freely amongst yourselves. Let's see here.
So who wants to debate on... Oh, her eyes are up. I was going to say, who wants to debate on what she's dreaming about?
She was knocked out for a minute.
She was knocked out for a minute, but I wasn't going to say anything.
It's way past my bedtime.
There you go.
Oh, I should
That was a background swap. That was literally shot in my living room, just a plain eggshell white wall, and I added all of that in the background. I actually I had that shot from somewhere else, and it was literally just a shot that I shot out of focus of these colored string lights, just so I had this bokeh background, and it's sitting in my backgrounds folder. So I just composited that in there, swapped out the background with that.
Yeah, I've got an entire skies folder in my Google Drive. Just
so do I, and it keeps growing.
Yep.
Yep.
I actually was just out. Josh, did you meet Harry? Can't remember.
Which Haley?
Harry, you met Harry. He was there when we did that football little thing.
Oh, the pilot guy?
Yeah. So he just retired. He bought a gorgeous house up Egg Harbor, man. I was just up there. He gave me a bunch of equipment because his soon-to-be wife made him retire.
That's weird. His soon-to-be wife made him retired, or made him retire. Most of the time, the soon-to-be wife would be like, "Make that money."
Well, he made a lot of money piloting.
Oh, I know. I know that pilots make a ton, especially private pilots.
where he's at, man. Oh my God, the view was ridiculous.
I just sent the group a picture. It's a Christmas photo, and I just shot it like this past weekend. It's totally unedited, but it's just hilarious, so I had to share.
Where's it at?
It's in the chat.
Give me just a second. I'm getting it.
It's
Yeah,
just
yeah, Josh. Next time you come down, man, Harry left it open wide, especially during the summertime. You had to go down there and do a shoot or something, or have a workshop.
That's a big picture. 13 megabytes.
Sorry.
No, that's all right. I don't care.
Exported it.
It's kind of slow going through the Zoom meeting itself, but I just got it. So give me a second here.
JPEG Mini.
JPEG Mini, exactly. Oh, there we go. Merry Christmas.
Oh, cannot critique that at all.
I can't unsee it.
Collection.
It's so great.
Where are the balls?
Oh, I love the Argyle socks. That really completes it, you know.
Yeah.
Everybody has a friend like that.
Yep.
They do, which is why it's so relatable.
Yep. Yeah. You need to add that one to the group because you know the whole month of December is holiday theme.
I know. I have to actually go through and edit them, so that's just a quick preview of what is to come.
It's all good. We got about
Christmas shots. I'm doing my first Christmas shot.
Yeah, I'm usually not a holiday chaser. I'm not sitting there thinking, oh, what's coming up? Let me shoot some theme shots for this holiday to get them posted. If it's shots that I post for a holiday, more than likely it's shots that I took, 2, 3, 4, 5 years ago that I'm just reposting because I haven't put any effort into shooting anything new for the holiday. So
yeah, same for me. I almost never do, but now I'm like, all right, I have none.
Yeah.
It's
Why do I feel like, John, did you repost this? Sorry, go ahead, Melissa.
Oh, it's okay. It's ironic because he actually asked me to do those shots. He was like, Mel, you need to do this for me. And I was like, okay. So.
No, I didn't repost it. That's a new edit.
Oh, it's a new edit. I was going to say, because I remember us talking about these shots several weeks ago, because I remember talking about the seaweed and the composition with the rocks, but one of the shots that we had the spray behind it coming from the wave crashing on the rock and stuff. So
it was a different shot.
Yeah. I honestly feel like she's a little hot on this shot. It's just almost too bright right in here.
Yeah, it looks like she's moved a little too much in her face too.
Mm-hmm.
Taken away from her eye.
Yeah, her eye looks soft, honestly.
Yeah. And any shadowing in her nose, so it's looking like her cheek is blending into her nose. I would say take back however you did the softening of her skin and let a little bit of the harsh features in there.
Yeah, just step it back a little touch.
Yeah, or dodge and burn inside of her eye to her nose, just to give some shape and definition to separate the two.
Yeah, see, I find it very weird. Okay, obviously this is the highlight from the sun, but I find it very weird that there's basically no shadow inside the palm of her hand where I would expect to see shadow, considering I see the shadow down the backside of her arm here. And this just looks almost like you, I don't know, opened up the shadows or something. Something looks weird about the palm of her hand. It just looks way too bright. So, I mean, I would definitely bring that back down, burning that in. Burning the eye and eyebrow. But honestly, I just feel like her skin in general, from this strap of her dress to here, face and everything, just this section right here, just seems a touch too bright to me personally in this image. You know, I feel like if you brought it down just, you know, half a stop, maybe a stop, you know, just her skin within this area, it almost looks like you had just a touch too much power on your off-camera flash for the exposure, you know?
Yeah, I probably did.
It's just a little too hot in my personal preference.
See, because where that circle of light is, that's the light was camera left, so I was right. And so that's probably why she has no shadows in her palms, because I was using the snub 38 and I was 6 feet away.
Yeah, so the light was basically right here, just out of frame.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, because you could. When I cropped the image to cropped in a little bit, I took the light out.
Yeah.
The light was on camera right of me, so where the rock is, where the rock.
Oh, the light was over here.
Yeah, right next to me though.
It was further in. That doesn't make sense to me, because if the light was over camera right out of frame, you wouldn't have this shadow on the tendon of her neck. You wouldn't have this shadow on the inside of her arm. You wouldn't have this shadow on this side. That doesn't make sense to me.
Josh, take a look at the light, and then take a look at the ring finger, middle finger shadow.
Oh, I see it. That tells me the light's over here, camera left, not camera right. He's saying camera right.
Right. But what I'm saying is, take a look at that shadow in her hand, but then take a look at the shadow on the rock. You can see where the sun is coming from. It's past her plane, so it's further past her on camera left.
I know. And then the way her hand is turned, that shadow is not being cast by the sun. That shadow is being cast by an off-camera flash.
That's what I'm saying.
I know, which would mean the off-camera flash is camera left.
The flash is to the right?
Yeah, and he's saying the flash was to the camera right. It doesn't make sense to me with the shadows.
The flash was camera right next to me. The sun was camera left. Maybe, let's see, I'm trying, like, how looking at it.
We can see the shadow right here being cast by the sun on this rock. And what I'm saying is this shadow right here inside her palm, which is turned away from the sun, is not being cast by a light over here to the right of the frame. It's being cast by a light source to the left of the frame. That is not the sun.
No, it's because it's how I set up my lighting. The light was camera right, but
did you have two lights?
It's just I could have possibly had two lights. I have no clue.
Okay. Because I'm sorry, but the shadows are disagreeing with what you're saying. That's all I'm saying here.
Mm-hmm.
I might have had two lights because I do use two lights when I.
You typically use two lights, so yeah. I don't know, but my honest opinion, though, I feel like she's a little hot. My personal opinion.
Yeah, I calibrated my monitors, and two of them.
Blame it on the monitors. It's all good.
The third one isn't calibrated. Who knows what I did? I took it. I have TBI. I mean, come on.
I hear
my brain's been rattled by.
Don't get me wrong. It's not a ugly, terrible shot or anything. I'm just trying to nitpick on things.
Yeah.
Most people that view this image would be like, "Wow, that's so pretty." So.
Yeah, I think because I use Nick collections to soften the skin, so I probably when I was editing it, I probably did forget to lower the opacity of it.
Yeah. Usually when I use something like Nick Collection or one of those others to soften the skin, I'll take that layer that it creates and I'll throw a layer mask on it and go through and paint back over like the eyebrow and the eyes and stuff like that. So it's not softening those features.
That's exactly what I do.
Or vice versa, I'll actually throw a black layer mask on it, and I'll take a soft brush and just paint over the areas that I want to soften. You know.
Well, I did it in the color layer.
Yeah,
So
no, I know what you're talking about because I showed you that trick. But even then, on the colored layer, it will soften the underlying just tonal values of like the eyebrows and eyes and stuff like that. So a lot of times I will throw a layer mask even on that low color layer in frequency separation and mask off those features so they're not getting softened.
Oh,
So,
okay.
Another trick I do too sometimes, it just kind of gives you like, because sometimes when you start smoothing everything out, if you're using like Nick in a dynamic skin softener, you can just kind of lose base of where everything is, so to speak. So one trick I do sometimes is I'll do the dynamic skin softener, and then right after I'll throw on a heavy sharpen, like a unsharpened mask or so forth.
Yeah.
And what I'm doing is I'm bringing in the sharpen to kind of overlay where the soft is, so it's just giving me where the detail is, giving me the texture that I want to see without too much. And then I just kind of either pull it back or I just paint it in. And so basically I'm just kind of now going back and just painting texture. And
that's a good tip.
Yeah,
just
I'll
to
try
point
doing
it
that.
Yeah, just to explain this a little bit further to you, John Chapman. What he's actually talking about is I actually showed him in frequency separation. Once you've already separated the texture and the underlying colors and tones, that you can take and apply Nick skin smoothing or image nomics, portraiture, or whatever to the underlying low layer instead of, to the overall image. So it basically just smooths the tones and colors and doesn't affect the texture at all. But it will still soften larger areas like the eyes and the eyebrows because it kind of softens the just the colors themselves. So even though the texture is technically separated onto the high layer, it still will affect it somewhat. So a lot of times I'll take and mask it off on that low layer, even if, whatever. So, but yeah, if you're doing the Nick dynamic skin softening to just a base layer that has the texture and color and everything on it, absolutely go back in and sharpen right afterwards. I've done that myself. Yeah.
I even started just using the new Photoshop. They might have like the newest CC or whatever. The texture tool in RAW. And so a lot of times I'll bump up the texture tool, create a layer mask, and then just paint in texture.
Yep. Oh, wow, this night has flown by, guys. It is almost 11 o'clock my time, so it's almost midnight there. It's almost 11 o'clock in the morning over there in Australia. So, guys, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. Anybody got anything else they want to say real quick before we jump off?
Nice meeting everybody.
Yeah, thanks for joining us, John.
Chapman.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Thank you. Nice to meet you. Take it easy. Have a good week. Speak to you soon.
Have a good day, Martin.
Cheers, buddy.
Yeah.
Good night, mate.
All right, guys. Well, I'm going to go ahead and end the stream on YouTube.